So with that, I'm going to introduce our first speaker, who we call the face of our agency here at NJHMSA, and that is Jesse Crawford, and he is our Lender Outreach and Marketing Coordinator. Over to you, Jesse.
Thank you, Cynthia, and thank you all for joining us tonight. You all are part of our ongoing series of our first-time homebuyer programs, and we've gone through all 20, I believe it's 22 counties here in the state of New Jersey, and we're down to our last two. So I'm excited to share the information with you all tonight. And without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And let me minimize this. And full screen. Again, good evening. My name is Jesse Crawford. I'm with the New Jersey Housing Mortgage Finance Agency. I am the Outreach and Marketing Coordinator for the agency. And tonight I want to talk to you all for about 20 minutes about maximizing first-time homebuyer opportunities with down payment assistance. A little bit about us. The New Jersey Housing Mortgage Finance Agency. What we do basically is we provide funding for affordable homeownership and provide housing opportunities to New Jersey residents. We are a state housing finance agency, and we respond to the residents here in New Jersey by implementing creative programs and establishing alliances that fund affordable home mortgages and down payment assistance programs for first-time home buyers. And we offer these programs through a network of approved lenders. I'm going to give you a little bit of some statistics. First-time home buyers make up 33% of all home buyers. Now, the largest share of home buyers continues to be the age group between 25 and 34, which accounts for about 54% of all home buyers. And according to the National Association of Realtors, 71% of first-time home buyers were previously renting an apartment or a home or a house. Now, studies show there are leading barriers why folks aren't able to purchase a home or feel purchasing a home is outside their reach. One, just not having down payment funds, money for down payment and closing costs. Another is just qualifying for a mortgage. The amount of debt you might be carrying at the time might be a barrier for you in terms of qualifying for a mortgage. Job security is another issue, even whether or not you're ready to settle down in a one spot for a period of time. And the other thing that we're seeing right now all across the country, and our real estate professional who will be on with us a little bit later will talk about this in detail, because there's not enough homes for sale, not enough inventory currently. So there are some barriers, and we're going to talk about those, and we're also going to give you some solutions. So according to this particular chart here, affording the down payment, 68% said that this was a leading barrier for them. Qualifying for a mortgage comes in at 53%. The amount of debt they're currently carrying at 50%, and we show job security coming in at around 39%. Here's a snapshot of expenses that prevent buyers from being able to save money for down payment. Student loans, first-time home buyers, 56%. Also, credit card debt at 34%. Car loans coming in at 36%. Child care costs, healthcare costs, other costs. These are all things that hinder or prevent buyers from being able to save money for down payment for a home. And we have a solution for that today. Now, specifically 9 in 10 low-income renters said that having money for down payment and closing costs was a major obstacle to home ownership for them. Middle-income renters, 72% also indicated the same challenge. Of these groups, there's 62% of low-income and 39% of middle-income renters considered having funds as a major obstacle to home ownership. And 53% of renters cited their inability to afford down payment as the reason why they rent. by far the most frequently cited explanation. Now, we have two basic mortgage programs. We provide a first mortgage, low interest rate first mortgage, and we provide down payment assistance. And we're going to leave the down payment assistance program to last because that's my happy part of my presentation. But right now, I just want to give you a sense of our mortgage program. We have two foundational mortgage programs. The first one is called the first time home buyer mortgage, and the second one is called our homeward bound mortgage. They're both 30-year fixed rate government insured loans, such as FHA, VA, or USDA. And the interest rates for these mortgages are determined by our agency and not our approved lenders. The lenders do not dictate what the rate is. We actually set the rates each and every day, and we send them out to our lenders by 10 a.m. each business day. Now, our first-time home buyer program, here are the requirements for the program. You must be a borrower who's purchasing and going to occupy a residential home here in New Jersey. You must qualify and meet all the requirements for our first mortgage loan originated through one of our participating lenders. And the borrower must be a first-time home buyer. Now, a first-time home buyer is defined as someone who has not had ownership interest in their primary residence, their current residence, during the previous 3 years. And we'll talk about that in detail a little bit more also as we proceed in the presentation. Qualified veterans do not need to be first-time home buyers, but they must not own another primary residence at closing on their new home. So if you're a qualified veteran, one, you don't need to be a first-time home buyer. And two, if you do currently own a home, that home must be sold prior to closing on the new home. Additionally, the borrower must have a FICO's credit score of 620 or greater, and the debt to income ratios for the first time home buyer program is a maximum ratio of 40 and 47%, meaning no more than 40% of your gross monthly income can be applied towards the mortgage, and no more than 47% of your gross monthly income can be applied using your mortgage, which includes your principal, taxes, interest, and insurance, and all your monthly minimum payments that you have to pay that shows up on your credit report. No more than 47% for the first-time home buyer. Now, borrowers are required to have 2 months monthly reserves of the anticipated mortgage payment, and I'll talk about that in detail on another slide. And for each one of our programs, there are income limits, statewide household income limits. Now, understand the income limits is for every adult living in the household, not just the adults or the persons on the mortgage, but every adult over the age of 18 who are not full-time students, their income will be counted as a household. And let me share the income limits here for Somerset County. As you can see here on this particular PowerPoint, PDF, I'm sorry, Hunterdon, Middlesex County, and Somerset. 1 to 2 family household, the maximum income is $119,500, and 3+ family household, the maximum is $137,425. And additionally, on this slide, borrowers may not possess enough liquid assets to close the mortgage loan at 80% loan to value or less. Roughly translated, meaning if you have more than 20% liquid assets to put down on the home that you're looking to purchase, then you really don't need our assistance. You don't need our down payment funds or our low interest rate mortgage. This program is designed for not low to moderate income, but just to be affordable for folks who need this particular programs. And again, if you have liquid assets sitting in a checking account or savings account that's readily accessible, then you're not going to qualify for our program. We're not talking about retirement funds, pension, or any other retirement savings that you might have. Now, our homeward bound mortgage program It's very similar to our first-time mortgage, first-time homebuyer mortgage, with some distinct differences. Again, you must purchase and occupy a residential home in New Jersey. You must qualify for a mortgage through one of our participating lenders. You must be a first-time homebuyer, as defined as someone who has not had ownership interest in their primary residence during the previous 3 years. As I said earlier, qualified veterans do not need to be first-time homebuyers, but must not own another property prior to closing on the new home. And the one of the other benefits of the homeward bound mortgage is that it allows for higher debt to income ratios compared to the first-time home buyer. Now, FICO score is the same, 620, but as you can see, the debt to income ratio is significantly different. 40 on the front, 50 on the back. So the thought process here is that if you don't qualify for the first-time home buyer because you're carrying too much debt to qualify for that mortgage, then you could possibly qualify for the homeward bound, which allots for additional debt on the back end, 40 and 50%. So 50%, no more than 50% of your gross monthly income can be applied towards your mortgage payment, which includes, again, principal, taxes, interest, insurance, and some other things, and your monthly minimum debt that shows up on your credit report. Again, 2 months monthly reserves are required of the monthly mortgage payment, and there are income limits just like the first-time home buyer. And as you can see here, for Somerset, Middlesex, Huntington, the maximum income limit for the household is $167,300, significantly higher than the standard first-time home buyer limit. So if your income limits are over for the first-time home buyer, you could possibly qualify for the homeward bound. If your debt is too high to qualify for the first-time home buyer, then you can possibly qualify for the homeward bound. And as I said, with the first-time home buyer, borrower may not possess enough liquid assets to close the mortgage loan at 80% loan to value or less. Now, really quick, I want to talk about urban targeted areas. Urban targeted areas are designated by the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, and each and every county has designated urban targeted areas. Now, one, buyers who purchase within urban targeted areas and veterans do not need to be first-time home buyers. But the caveat here is that they must not own another property or primary residence at closing. So basically, you could be a current homeowner who's on this particular webinar looking to purchase a new home. You can qualify for our low interest rate mortgage and down payment assistance, but you would have to purchase a home in an urban targeted area. And prior to closing on your new home, you would have to sell your old home to qualify for this particular program. There are higher income limits permitted for urban targeted areas. And I'm going to click on the link and show you. Where are we here? I'm sorry. This particular link shows you how to determine whether or not the home that you're looking to potentially purchase is in an urban targeted area. It's called our site evaluator. So you can click on this link and put in the address in the top find address or place search box, and it will return the values over to the left, letting you know whether or not that property is indeed in an urban targeted area tract. And if it is, you as a current homeowner can take advantage of our program, or a veteran who could take advantage of our program as an existing homeowner. Additionally, urban targeted areas are an untapped market because buyers can purchase in these areas and they do not need to be first-time home buyers to use our first-time home buyer mortgage and our down payment assistance. And here's a link for the income limits for the urban targeted areas. And all the links in my presentation, as Cynthia said earlier, will be included in the chat and also will be emailed to you all tomorrow. As you can see here, urban targeted area limits for 110 Middlesex County and Somerset, 1 to 2 in the household, the maximum income is $143,400. 3+ family household, it's $167,300. Let me get rid of this here. New share. Why is my that is gone? Sorry, give me a second here. My sharing is not working as it should. Okay, here we go. Let me go back. Can you all see my screen okay? Cynthia, can you see my screen okay? Okay.
Yep, we see your PowerPoint.
Okay, thank you. There are additional links on this page, downpaymentresources.com. It is a site that we do not own or manage, but we thought it would be vital to include it in the presentation. So if you're looking for additional down payment resources to what we have to offer, you can search downpaymentresources.com for additional monies to help you with the purchase of your home. Now, our program will allow you to couple our down payment assistance with any other program, as long as that other program or entity will allow it. Some programs won't allow you to couple funds together. Our agency will allow it if that other, as long as that other agency is on board with it. And some things come into play in terms of lien positions on the property, and being in first place, second place, or third place. Those are really what the issues are. But as long as the other entity will allow to be in a certain position in terms of liens, we will allow those down payment funds to be coupled together. Additionally, if you need a copy of your credit report, annualcreditreport.com is a resource where you can give one free copy once a year from all 3 credit bureaus of your credit report. It's vital that you know what's on your credit report, go through it, make sure it's correct. If there's things that aren't correct, address them before you apply for a mortgage so there aren't any surprises. Now, really quick, I want to show you side-by-side comparisons of these 2 programs. A lot of similarities, but I'm going to just reiterate the distinct differences. Minimum credit score for both programs is 620 or higher. First-time home buyer has lower income limits. Homeward bound has higher income limits. First-time home buyer, lower debt-to-income ratios. Homeward bound, higher debt-to-income ratios. They're both 30-year fixed-rate government-insured mortgages. The interest rate will not change for the life of the loan. The first-time home buyer has a lower interest rate. Homeward bound has a higher interest rate. Borrowers are required to complete a HUD-approved credit counseling course. That is a major requirement. And upon completing that HUD-approved counseling, you will receive a certificate. That certificate is valid for 1 full year. You can take that counseling prior to applying for the mortgage. After you get your pre-approval, you can take the course, but a copy of that certificate has to be included with your closing package prior to closing on your mortgage. Major requirement. And the other great thing about our programs is that you can purchase up to a 4-unit property as long as you occupy one of the properties as your primary residence for 5 years, okay? So you can purchase a 2-family, live in one, rent the other out, get rental income now. As long as you live in that other unit as your primary residence for 5 years, you are good to go. Really quick additional requirements. Well, these are the requirements you're going to need to collect to submit to the lender when you apply for your mortgage. You're going to need 3 years signed federal tax returns or 3 years transcripts. You're going to need 30 days of pay stubs and 2 years of W-2s. You're going to need 2 months bank statements. You're going to need 2 months reserves of the monthly mortgage payment. Now, reserves can be in a personal account. It can be gifts to qualify from friends or family members, or you can provide statements such as your 401k or pension or some other retirement account you may have. But understand you do not need to withdraw anything from those accounts. You just need to show that you have those funds available in case of need or an emergency. Also, in some cases, you may get money back at closing. You can get upwards of $3,000 for funds paid out of pocket at closing, which will include possibly your earnest money deposit, your appraisal fee, the home inspection fee, pest inspection, and even your home buyer's course. Now, upon final approval of your file with the lender will submit your file to our agency for review. Understand, we don't underwrite your file at all. We review the file for compliance at the agency to make sure everything is in order before it's cleared to close. The initial review could take up to 5 days, but typically it might take 1 to 2 business days, and in some cases, you can get same-day approval within hours. It all depends on the lender and the package that they submit in its entirety, and all stipulations or requests have been met. And we encourage lenders to submit their file to our agency at least 10 business days before your closing to allow time for resubmission of any loan conditions. We will never delay your file on our end for anything that we need. Again, the lender underwrites the entire file. We review the file to make sure everything is in order. And then we'll clear the file and provide the funding. So if your file is delayed, reach back out to the lender and understand there's something that lender did not submit. Now, I'm not saying that we typically have that problem, but I want you to understand that the file won't be delayed because of us. Now, this is the happy section of my presentation. I call this the free money section of the presentation. Our down payment assistance program at the agency here, we will provide $10,000 to qualified home buyers to use toward down payment and closing costs, okay? Our $10,000 down payment assistance is what we call a forgivable loan with no payments and no interest rate. It's not a grant, it's a forgivable loan. Again, no payments and no interest rate. And our down payment assistance program is a sub-program that's coupled with our first-time home buyer mortgage, such as the first-time home buyer mortgage and the homeward bound mortgage. Again, they are 30-year fixed-rate government-insured mortgages, either FHA, VA, or USDA. Currently, we do not offer conventional mortgages, but I'm happy to say within the next few months we will. And when we do, we're going to probably have a nice media blitz for that. But I'm very excited to have our agency provide conventional mortgages in the coming months. The major requirement of our down payment assistance program is the home buyer resides in the property as their primary residence for 5 years after purchasing, without selling it, without refinancing, and obviously without defaulting on the mortgage. The $10,000 is completely forgiven. And I want to say this again, it's a forgivable loan with no payments and no interest. So there's no payments over that 5-year period. It's a flat $10,000 given to you to use towards your down payment and closing costs. And as long as you reside in the home for that 5-year period, without selling it, refinancing, defaulting, or vacating the property, you do not have to pay that $10,000 back at all. Now, in the event, for some reason, you decide you want to vacate the premises, refinance, cease to occupy the premises before the 5-year term is up, the down payment assistance loan will be payable in full. It's not prorated over the 5-year period. The entire $10,000 will be required to be paid back. The great thing about our program also is we didn't always allow for this, but you can utilize our down payment assistance and our low interest rate mortgage to purchase new construction. Wasn't always this way. I'm happy to say you see a new development going up and you want to put an offer in on that property, you'll get pre-qualified through one of our approved lenders. You certainly can take advantage of new construction with our down payment assistance and our low interest rate mortgage. And it has to be your primary residence here in the state of New Jersey for 5 years after closing. Now, borrowers also can utilize seller concessions with our down payment assistance program. So the seller wants to help you out with costs, you can get money from them, and the real estate agent will talk about that in detail later. And couple that with the down payment assistance program that we offer, the $10,000, to help you with covering all your costs and give you greater buying power. And in some cases, with our down payment assistance and other monies that you may receive, you may not need any additional funds out of your own pocket at all for closing. The eligible properties, again, it must be located in New Jersey, and it must be your primary residence here in the state of New Jersey. You can move in from New York, Connecticut, Philadelphia, any other place throughout the country, but you must occupy this property here in the state of New Jersey 5 years, before 5 years after closing on it. Property types can be a single family home, condominium, townhome, a manufactured home, even a mobile home, but the mobile home has to be on a fixed foundation. Just can't wheel it from town to town. It has to be on a fixed foundation. And as I said on the last slide, you can purchase up to a 4-family unit in which one unit must be occupied by you, his or her primary residence for the full 5 years. Now here's the link for the HUD-approved credit counseling agencies. You can simply go to HUD.gov or utilize this link here to find a counseling agency located within your geographical area. You can also go to our website, njhousing.gov, and click on consumers or home buyers, and you can actually find a housing counseling agency or credit counseling agency on our website as well. And again, this link and all the other links will be in the chat function. And just to wrap up, as we started out with these statistics, we wanted to give you kind of a guide to show that there are resources to get over some of the hurdles that folks have when it comes to purchasing a home and thinking that it may be outside their reach. And our agency is a solution for the leading reasons that folks feel they can't purchase a home. And we provide the strategy to help renters and buyers who face roadblocks for lack of resources in down payment and closing costs. And again, our down payment program is a forgivable loan at 0 interest for a 5-year period requirement for you to stay in the home. And you can couple seller concessions with our down payment assistance. And when it says restrictions apply on this particular slide, those restrictions mean whether or not that other entity will allow it and what lien position they're willing to take. Lastly, on this particular slide, this link here, let me go back, is our Road Home New Jersey guide. This is a PDF file that you can download to your desktop. It is an invaluable resource for you to use during this home buying process for you. It goes through step by step the home buying process. It talks about the cost of home ownership, home buying counseling, how to get pre-qualified, how to launch your home search, how to make an offer, This is a great resource for you. It has mortgage calculators. It helps you understand how to calculate your mortgage, understanding your principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. It's just a great tool. Home inspection. And the great thing also about this guide is at the end, there's a glossary of terms. So going through this process, you're going to hear some terms that you're not familiar with. You can flip to the back of this PDF, go to the glossary, look up the term, and get a better understanding of what's going on during the process. So I implore you to download this to your desktop, keep it handy. Also, if you would like a hard copy of this mailed to you, let me know, and I can have our mailroom send one out to you or a couple out to you. It's just a great resource to have. Now, if there's anybody on this particular webinar today who's currently ready to get started, get pre-qualified, and hit the ground running, you need to be connected with one of our approved lenders if you're not already pre-approved by one of them. And the best way to do that is use our lender request form. And our lender request form will take you to find a lender, and we will pair you with one of our participating lenders. Basically, fill out your information, name, phone number, what county you're most likely going to purchase in, whether or not you need down payment assistance and closing costs, what type of meeting you would prefer, what language, and we will send to you one of our top lenders, up to 3 of our top lenders that you can reach out to, or they'll reach out to you directly and get you started pre-qualified on your road to home ownership. Also, at the bottom of this particular page, if you would like, there's a printable downloadable list of our participating lenders. Let me just open it up here. Here are all our lenders with their name and telephone numbers. If you want to, feel free to reach out to them directly. You certainly can do that, but you must use one of the lenders on our list here in order to qualify for the mortgage and receive our down payment assistance. Here we go again with me not being able to share. All right, let me try this one last time. Let me close that. Here we go. Also, if you have a lender who's not on our list and you're already pre-qualified, you can have them simply reach out to us at sflenders@njhmfa.gov, and we can work with them to get them on our list as a participating lender so you can take advantage of our down payment assistance and low interest rate mortgage. Currently, our mortgage for the first time home buyer is 2.75, and for the homeward bound is 3.125. And that does it for my part of this presentation tonight. Here's my information on screen. Again, my name is Jesse Crawford. My email is the best way to reach me if you want to reach out to me. You certainly can call me. We're not in the office yet, but email is the best way to reach me. But if you have to call me, leave me a voicemail and I will get back to you. And with that, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and open it up for any questions you may have.
Thank you, Jesse. Lots of information. Samantha, I had answered your question. I just wanted to make sure that was enough information for you, or did you want to unmute and discuss further? Feel free to unmute. If anyone else has, I don't have any other questions in the chat. If anyone else has questions for Jesse, anything at all,
feel free to unmute and ask your question. We're here to help. Don't be shy.
All right, Samantha's good. Anyone else?
All right,
Anyone
I'm
start?
going to be here all night. So if you think of something, feel free to put it in the chat, and we will answer the question. Or at the next Q&A, you can ask the question. Okay.
Perfect. All right, so for now we'll move on to our next speaker. But like Jesse said, we'll hit Q&A again, or if you think of something, just throw it in the chat. So Chiquita, I'm gonna move it over to you. So we have Chiquita Pittman. She's our realtor, associate from EXP Realty. Thanks, Chiquita, for coming on.
Thank you for having me. It's such an honor to be here. These programs and all this free money and all this information is so exciting because I started in the business 30 years ago and we didn't have free money like Jesse is saying. He does such a great job explaining everything. And it really is about, having the resources because you are really buying a piece of the American dream. So please, take advantage of these programs. They are so important. And I just want to just talk about, as a first-time home buyer, it's so important to have a team, to have a real estate agent that works for you, to have a mortgage rep that works for you, to have a lawyer that works for you, to have a home inspector work for you, because this is the biggest investment that you're going to purchase in your lifetime. And our job as a real estate agent is to make sure that we give you all the information so that you do not make any big mistakes or even buy the money pit. The market right now, just to give you a little update, is very, very competitive right now because we typically have, during this time of year, we have like 90 days of inventory. This time of year, we have like 17 days of inventory. And as most first-time home buyers, everyone starts their search online. I'm sure you're looking online, at properties, and I'm sure you're starting to see how many days on the market. It used to be, 30, 60 days. Now you're looking at a matter of less than a week of properties on the market, and it's already, in attorney review. So the market is very, competitive, and it's so important to work with an agent right now that is really going to work for you and very familiar with this particular program. Because what's happening now, if you're working with an agent that's not full-time and that is not familiar with these programs and cannot explain these programs to the listing agent so that they can make the seller comfortable and, working with you and accepting your deal, then you're going to have a very, very hard time, getting your offer accepted. So right now, more than ever, it's so important to, work with an agent that is willing to work with you and is going to look out for you, because if they tell you that they don't have time or they're just too busy and, they don't want to show you any houses, trust me, this market that's happening right now will not stay this way, forever. So the market is definitely changing. I'm starting to see a little bit of a slowdown as far as competitive offers. We are starting to see more buyers right now are not waiving the home inspections as much and the appraisal. There's a couple of things I'm going to tell you. As an agent, I will never ever tell my client to waive a home inspection or to waive the appraisal. And I want to explain to you about what that means when a buyer says that they are going to waive the appraisal. So if you buy a property today and you do a contract for, say, $250,000, that's our contract price. Now your bank is going to go out and do an appraisal. And let's just say, because it has been happening, the bank will go out and say, this property, I know you have 5 or 8 offers on it, and you went in at 250 and the asking price maybe was 225 or 210. Well, if that property does not appraise for that 250 and it appraises, say, for the asking price of 210 or 215 or even 225, you are going to have to make up that difference of $25,000. And believe it or not, buyers are doing that right now because there's low inventory and we are competing with a lot of buyers right now from either out of state or they're coming in from overseas. So, you know, number one, never waive the appraisal and never waive the home inspection. If an agent is trying to tell you, you know, to do that just in order to get your property, I mean, just in order to get your offer accepted, then I'm going to tell you to be very, very skeptical and maybe try to work, you know, with another agent. Um, because again, you know, we're here to help you. We're here to help you make the right, you know, decisions. And, you know, once you have the home inspection and once you have the appraisal, if things don't go your way, you know, then that contract has a, you know, has a possibility of actually falling through. So number one, never waive the appraisal, never waive the home inspection, always have a home inspection, and always make sure that you have a home inspector that's going to work for you too and knows his stuff and that is licensed. And definitely go to your home inspections. And typically a home inspection can take anywhere from an hour and a half. I've been at some home inspections at 3 hours, and they check everything, these home inspectors. You want to make sure that home inspector is going to check the roof, the electrical, the plumbing, everything from A to Z. And if they detect that they converted the house over from oil to gas, they may suggest you doing a tank scan too, as well, because you have a lot of older homes in this area, you know, that a lot of people have converted over. And actually, I just sold a house in Milltown. The homeowner didn't even know that they had an oil tank in the ground. And the buyer did a tank scan, and now they are scheduled to have that oil tank removed next week. And hopefully there won't be any contamination because you do have to get a certificate from the state. They do test the soil. So if your home inspector says, you know, that maybe there was an above oil tank on ground, and he may think that it may have been one, in the ground, then he may suggest that you do a tank scan too, as well. So one more thing I want to talk about what's happening that I'm starting to see right now, because the market is so competitive. If you also buy a property, say for 250, and you see that the listing agent, and this just happened to me last week, and we have to actually, we probably will be killing that deal. But the new trick today is that if the house sells for like $60,000 or $80,000 over the asking price, the listing agent may want to adjust the selling price to like increase it. If you see that happening, with your agent, if the listing agent adjusts the sales price, first of all, your buyer's agent should be made aware of that right away. But I will definitely question that, because you want to make sure that, again, I don't know why they're doing that, because at the end of the day, the bank is only going to go by the comps about what the houses have actually sold and closed for. So just be aware of these little tricks right now that is going on. And it's just so unfortunate that some agents are not that honest and, on board, with everything and doing things, the right way and just being ethical. But we are starting to see a little bit of a slowdown as far as competitiveness. We are starting to see more and more properties come on the market, staying on the market for more than a week now. And we also are starting to see a little bit of price reductions now too. So these are all good signs that are happening as more properties come on the market and things start to open up more. And there's a possibility that there may be raising interest rates just a little bit, but the market still, still should be good, for now. But we are starting to see like a change. So I'm hoping and praying that something gives, at least by September, that we get a lot more properties on the market, so that as a first-time home buyer, it won't be so competitive, right now. Another good thing to do is always start below your budget. If your budget is $300,000 or $350,000, I'm going to tell you, in this market, you might want to look at properties at $280,000 or $290,000, because chances are you're probably going to have to go above, the asking price. But as long as the house appraises out for the number that you're buying it for, then, you should be okay. And it's so important right now, too, to work with a really good real estate attorney right now, because what's happening now, if you put in an offer now and your real estate attorney does not get back to you right away or can't get you in and out of review, they're going to use your contract to get more money. And we've had some buyers actually lose, contracts because their attorney could not get back to them, right away. Satal Shah, I worked with him for like over 10 years. He is really good about getting you in and out of attorney review. And he's also great at being a pit bull when he needs to, protect you too from a legal, from a legal standpoint. So it's okay to start your searches online. It's just so important right now just to work with a really good full-time agent that's going to look out for your best interests. I do have my own team. We pretty much cover Somerset, Middlesex, and Monmouth Junction and some parts of Essex County. And what we're doing now to accommodate our buyers, especially our buyers who work during the week or who are coming in from New York, we're actually going out doing FaceTime, with the properties, or trying, schedule more virtual tours just to try to give you a fighting chance to be able to get into the property the minute the property comes on the market. Because chances are, if it comes on the market on a Monday, if you can't get off work to see it Saturday or Sunday, then you may not have a chance, and they may have 5 or 10 offers on it and calling for highest and best like the following, Monday. So the minute a property does come on the market, it's so important to go out and just try to see the property as quickly as possible. And if you don't see anything that you like, I'm going to tell you just to take your time, because again, you should not be pressured into buying anything. You should get exactly what you want. You may not get 100%, but the house meets most of your needs and 90%, and you really like the property, then I'm going to say for you to go for it. If not, then we will continue, our search. And just take your time, just do your homework. Another thing that's happening now, some of the towns are requiring certificate of occupancy inspections, and all the towns require a smoke detector inspection. The only time a buyer is not responsible for those 2 inspections if you're buying like a foreclosure or a short sale property. So right now, New Brunswick has it. Somerset does not have it. South Brunswick just started it. And Piscataway and Edison and Woodbridge. And now, because of COVID, things are starting to open up more. They are actually going out doing the inspections. Now, these inspections are not a home inspection. The township is just going to make sure that the homeowner took care of the property and that they don't have any open permits. Like if they finished the basement, did they get a permit for the basement? If the hot water heater was changed, did they get a permit for that? If they upgraded the central air unit, this just going to check just the basic stuff. And that is something that the seller will pay for. And last but not least, with all these bidding wars that are going on, I'm going to say to you, do not get emotional. Stick to your budget. And if it's meant to be, it will be. But don't get discouraged either. I know there's a lot of buyers getting, very discouraged, and they're tired of putting in 8 and 15 offers and nothing getting accepted. If you have to take your time and take a step back, then that's fine. But I'm going to tell you, please stay encouraged. I do see a change coming, and things will definitely get better for us as far as a buyer's market is concerned. And you can always look me up on social media. You can follow me on Facebook, Instagram. You can go to my website, chiquitapittman.com. And you can send me an email, or you can send me a text. Text or calling me first is always like the best way, because I work 24/7. It's hard for me to take days off because I do love my job. I'm very passionate about it. I'm very committed to increasing home ownership, especially in our community. So please feel free to give me a call if you have any questions. And that's
Thank you so much, Chiquita. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Lots of helpful information. So we have a couple questions, if I could go through them.
Okay.
Samantha's asking, can you please clarify the process of looking at affordable homes for sale in Somerset? For Bedminster specifically, I was under the impression from something I read online that it was a lottery. Is that correct?
That's on there. I'm not sure, Jesse, is there an affordable housing program for the lottery? I'm not sure about that program.
It's possible, and I do believe, but for this particular program that we're talking about tonight, our funding and our down payment assistance is not for affordable units. It's for market rate units that you can purchase anywhere throughout the state of New Jersey. The affordable is another program under another agency. And the one thing about the affordable units that I need folks to understand, when it's an affordable unit, normally it's deed restricted, meaning that You purchase it at a low price, and when you go to sell it, this is the simplest way I can put it. When you go to sell it, you only can make a certain amount of profit on it. It needs to stay affordable for the next person who's going to purchase that home.
Yes, and so just to comment on that, most people build wealth through real estate. So if you can buy a property that's not affordable, and when you go to sell it 5 or 10 years, or you want to pass it on to your kids, they will be able to make money, from it. But Jesse is absolutely right about that program. You are restricted on the amount of money that you can make.
Great, thank you. Shakina, you were talking about the 2 inspections that are specific to town requirements.
Yes.
Are they paid by the buyer or seller?
Yes, so in a normal transaction, the seller will always be responsible for the smoke detector inspection, and they will always be responsible for the certificate of occupancy inspection. And that typically costs a seller, depending on what town. The smoke detector inspection is like $45 or $50. They have to have a fire extinguisher. Everything has to be up to code. But the certificate of occupancy inspection is also paid by the seller, and that can cost anywhere from $50 to $125. And that inspection is just only for electrical, plumbing, and also like the exterior, like the roof. Like they just come in, they just take a look, basically. Oh, the basement. I'm sorry, the basement. If the basement was finished, and if that seller did not get permits for that basement, and the town goes in and they say it was not done up to par or up to code, that seller could be required to, take down some walls, but he's going to have to pay for the permit for the basement and also make sure everything was done, properly. Because unfortunately, you do have people that try to cut corners all the time. So it's just important, to make sure that, that you're going to get a clear C of O and a smoke detector, because you cannot close without it. Now, if you're buying a foreclosure or a short sale, then the buyer will be responsible, for those 2 inspections.
Perfect, thank you.
You're welcome.
Jesse, this might be for you. So what can be used as down payment or your down payment?
Well, our $10,000 for starts. Just so you know, for FHA, you as a buyer are required to bring 3.5% of the purchase price of the home out of your own pocket to the table. That's what you're required to bring. Simple math, $200,000 home that you're looking to purchase, you're required to bring $7,000 to the table. We're giving you $10,000. You already have your down payment of 3.5%, plus money left over for closing costs. And if you receive any seller concessions, any gifts from family members, any other grants, that's gravy on top of what you already have. So down payment funds is really not the issue. There's plenty of money out here to help you with the down payment. But if you can clarify, if I didn't touch on what you're asking, what specifically are you referring to when you say down payment? You can unmute yourself.
That was Erica. Did that clear things up for you, or did you have a specific question for that?
My question was pertaining to affordable housing, because I wanted to know if this program can work in conjunction with affordable housing. But I think Ms. Pittman answered that for me.
That was my question about the down payment.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Did I answer the question for you?
Yes, you actually did.
Okay, great. I want to make sure I got it clear for you.
Yes, because I think you had mentioned, or I think I read it on your PowerPoint where it said, I believe you can use like pension or those other things. And I just wanted to clarify that.
Yeah, for the pension and 401k, they just want to see those statements for reserve funds in case something happens, you got 2 months reserved monthly mortgage payment that you can pull out of your 401k as an emergency, as a hardship if you had to do that. It's just a requirement. Again, you don't have to withdraw those funds, but you need to show that you have those funds available in case of an emergency.
Oh, okay. I got confused. It was for the reserve. Okay, thanks.
All right.
I just want to add one more thing too, with FHA loans and also with VA loans. If you're looking at a property and if it has like peeling paint or anything like that, understand these programs are here to protect you too. They may require the seller to, make certain repairs if the house is not really up to par. So these programs are like a safeguard. They want to make sure that you make a good and smart investment too. But I do know for a fact, if you're looking at properties, that need a lot of work, or if it's a foreclosure, always keep that in mind that FHA and VA pretty much are going to want you to try to get something that's in, livable, condition. If it needs a lot of cosmetic work, they may require the seller to do that. So that's another good safeguard that you have.
Perfect. There's another question. What debt ratio must I fall below? I believe that's in regard to the our program, our down payment assistance program.
Yeah, for our first-time home buyer mortgage, the debt to income ratio is 40 and 47%. And for the homeward bound, it's 40 and 50%. So again, the thought here is that if you don't qualify for the first-time home buyer mortgage because you're over those numbers, then you can possibly qualify for the homeward bound as long as you're within those numbers and those guidelines.
Do they
that
take
would
it?
be coupled. Go ahead, sorry.
No, I'm sorry. You can go ahead. I'll wait.
Oh, I was just going to add, and those would be coupled with the down payment and assistance program that we have. So go ahead, Jada.
When they look at your debt to income ratio, are they considering any outstanding student loans? Not that they're past due, but some, money that you owe.
That's a great question. And typically what they're going to do is they're going to take your balance, and 1% of that, they will classify that as a minimum payment to be added to your debt to income ratio, 1% of that.
So if you owe $50,000, then they will only take what, 5% of that into consideration?
My understanding is 1%.
1%?
Yes.
Oh,
as a
okay.
monthly payment to be added to your debt to income ratio.
Oh,
Am I correct? Am I correct, Chiquita?
Yes, you are. It is 1%.
Okay.
Samantha, you asked how do you calculate debt to income ratio? Did Jesse answer that for you?
Yeah. What the lender is going to do when they pre-qualify you, without going into long detail, they're going to ask you for your pay stubs to see what your gross monthly income is, and they're going to ask you up front for a preliminary copy of your credit report, look at your monthly expenses, and basically they're going to take your monthly expenses plus your gross monthly income, and they're going to divide it by the total mortgage amount. One, to come up with your front income ratio and to come up with your back end ratio. The back end ratio includes all your debt, your monthly debt. The front end ratio only includes the mortgage payment and your gross monthly income. That's how they're going to determine what your ratios are. In our guide, your first time home buyer guide, the calculators there that can help you understand this and break this down. And you can see for yourself what you can afford and what you can't afford, or where you want to be, or how comfortable you are with a particular payment. But these are all good questions. And again, your lender will go through that when they pre-qualify you and break it all down for you and let you know what you qualify for, or if there's some changes or some work that needs to be done to get you mortgage ready.
Perfect. Thank you, Jesse. Very good question. We're going to move on. Oh, sure. Go ahead.
In the state of New Jersey, are you required to be married in order to have a be on the deed together with someone?
Nope,
No, nope,
nope, nope.
not at all. Live in sin.
Yep, yep.
Thank
I
you.
didn't say that. I didn't say that.
Yes, you did.
We recorded it. We hear you.
Yeah, hey now.
Great question. Ted is asking, Jesse, what proactive steps should be taken after applying for the lender request form and the down payment assistance program?
Well, this is what's going to happen when you typically apply. When you first fill out the form, we're going to send you up to 3 of our lenders, and one, they might reach out to you before you reach out to them. And either way, you're going to get a connection with one of our top 3 lenders, and they'll pre-qualify you to let you know how much mortgage you can afford. And then from there, you can work with hooking up with a realtor such as Shaquita, and then also schedule your pre-purchase home buying counseling course and to get the ball rolling. Everything goes through the lender. I'm happy to say that we don't do any of the work. We just provide the funding. The lender does all the work. Everything goes through the lender. So the lender is going to ask you for your preliminary document, and then once you get pre-approved, they're going to go into detail and ask for more stuff so they can get you a firm commitment and approval and get you to the closing table.
Great, thank you. We have a couple questions, but I'm going to move on to our next speaker, and then we'll get back to those other questions and any others that you all might have. But we have our last speaker is Satal Shah, and he's with Shaw Legal Law Firm. And I'm going to hand it over to you, Shah.
Good evening, everybody. Just seeing everybody out there. I'm attorney Satal J. Shah from Edison, New Jersey, and talking to you a little bit about legal issues. The best thing to remember when you sign a contract is not to worry, and you have a 3 business day attorney review to review and ask questions of your attorney. That's 3 business days. That means Saturdays, Sunday, weekends, holidays do not count. So if you're signing the contract on a Friday night, do not worry, attorney review begins on Monday. I like to call the attorney review period the agree to disagree period. That means your attorney is going to look out for you, make changes that are beneficial for you. Vice versa, the seller's attorney will make changes to the contract that's favorable to the seller. The goal is to agree to disagree on certain issues, compromise if possible, and to conclude attorney review. Concluding attorney review means when you, the buyer, sign off on the seller's changes, that means you're accepting it, and the seller signs off on your changes that they've accepted. When both sides sign off, attorney review is concluded. This is very important. In today's market, everything is moving very fast. It's a seller's market. So if you've seen tons of homes, bidding on homes that have 50 other people bidding on the same house and tired of losing the house, once you like a house, once you know it's for you, he or she that finishes attorney review wins the game. That means as soon as you get the contract, you speak to your attorney, they send out the changes, the quicker you and the seller agree and sign off, that concludes attorney review. Until that point, the seller is able to entertain, as you know, more offers, and any other higher offer will drop you out of the game. So try to finish attorney review quickly. In the contract, they get asked most often, how much deposit should I put down? Typically, you'll put $1,000 deposit as a good faith initial deposit. There's no textbook answer for additional deposits. It can vary. People put 5% down, 10%, 7%, 8%, 3%, depends. Second deposit is usually given 2, 3, 5, 7, 10 days after attorney review is concluded. Like I said, the buyers always want to give less down. Sellers always want the buyer to provide more down. Next, on home inspections, you typically have 14 days from attorney review to conduct a home inspection. Provide your attorney with a copy of the report and email him or her a list of repairs that you'd like the seller to address. Typically speaking, in inspections, the seller will either perform the repairs, provide a credit in lieu of repairs, or combination. The number one most question I get asked most often is, after you do home inspections, what if I didn't like it? Can I cancel the contract? The answer is no. The home inspections is not based on your personal likings or beliefs. If you ask for the major repairs for the seller to take care of them for you, and the seller addresses the major repairs, you have no legal right to just terminate the contract. The contract always allows the seller to fix the problem before you cancel. Now, major repairs is defined in the contract. It is not my definition. It's not your definition. It's not your neighbor's definition. And most importantly, it's not your friend's definition, because everybody who's friends of yours has an opinion when you buy a house. The major repairs as defined in the contract is heating, air conditioning, plumbing, mold, environmental, asbestos. The roof should be intact, free of leaks. The basement should be free of leaks, structurally sound foundation. Again, the roof should be intact. Major sewer, mechanical systems, plumbing should be in working condition. The windows should be working condition. HVAC should be working condition. These are considered major repairs. If you ask for repairs that are not major and the seller performs them, you say thank you to them. That's considered a Christmas gift. They didn't have to do it. If they don't do the small repairs or other repairs that you deemed important to you, that does not mean you can cancel the contract. Now, sometimes it's probably best to get an estimate from a contractor. Let's say you don't want the seller to address the repairs. Maybe you could control the situation and hire your own trusted contractors. Maybe the seller will not take great care in providing repairs because they are on their way out and you are on your way in. So if you get an estimate, that'll help you negotiate. For example, if it's a plumbing repair and a seller offers you a $75 credit, but you're a licensed contractor, states that the estimate is about $700 with parts and labor. Then what you could do is, if the seller offers you $500, $600, it's close to the estimate you received. That allows you to better negotiate, get a fair value, fair credit value, so you can undertake the repairs at a later date. People often ask me in the contract, what's included? Stove is the only thing included by law, nothing else. People think they have the right to cable TV, washer, dishwasher, dryer, refrigerator. No, stove by law is the only thing included. If a washer, dryer, and refrigerator are included, I would add that. Take 3 or 4 minutes in the contract and write it down, especially if you've seen appliances that are new. If you see a new refrigerator or an expensive dishwasher or something newer, like a 2-3-year-old dishwasher versus a 12-year-old dishwasher. If there's a brand name like GE or Viking, write it down. Why? When appliances are included, people just humanly, and I don't blame them, assume that when you see a new refrigerator, you get excited and you think that what you see is what you get. A refrigerator included does not mean what you see. I've seen many times prior to closing, 1972 Grandma's Special refrigerator shows up. If an included refrigerator is included, it can be a 20-year-old refrigerator, not the brand new one that you saw and assumed you are getting, and you're not. So always take a few minutes to jot those items down. Details matter. Mortgage commitment, typically it takes 4 weeks to get a mortgage commitment. Mortgage commitment is a piece of paper from your lender. That is, the lender will review your financials. Once they approve you, they basically say, I'm going to provide you with the mortgage money on the day of the closing and help you. That is important to obtain within the timeframes, and typically 4 weeks is what's allowed. Your attorney will review title work. They'll make sure there's no lawsuits, liens, or judgments on the property. This is not your problem. This is something your attorney will take care of. It becomes your issue or problem when you hire people who don't do real estate. If you're hiring attorneys who don't practice real estate and practice other areas, the devil is in the details. I always say pay now or pay later. There's a lot of details. Sellers have to pay off their mortgage, water bills, little bills. The title work should be clean. You want to make sure there's no lawsuits, liens, or judgments. It may be obvious to all that the seller's mortgage and water bills have to be paid off because those are lienable on the property. What may not be so obvious is, what if the seller owes child support? Child support is lienable on the property that you're buying. Not only past due child support's lienable, but 12 months of future payments is also lienable on the property. Also, when somebody signs a contract, we just assume they're the seller. Anyone can sign a contract, so can I. But that doesn't mean I'm the seller. Title work will reveal if who the sellers are. And if all the sellers are not on the contract, your attorney will make sure it's an enforceable contract by including other sellers. Now, your attorney is your like bodyguard. Your attorney is there to work with all personalities and all the people throughout the closing. Their job is to vet people, to make sure you're treated fairly and not taken advantage of. It's a team-oriented approach to get to the closing table. The attorney has to work with the realtor, the inspector, NJMFA, the appraiser, the inspector, the other attorney, all personalities, and we work together to achieve one goal. That is to close on the day of the closing, right? So your attorney is like a ringleader at a circus. Their job is to coordinate, communicate, and work with all parties to reach a common goal. Now let's pretend the closing was tomorrow, maybe at, let's say, 3 o'clock. Your attorney would have already called you today and told you how much money you have to bring for your closing costs. In addition, you'd conduct a walkthrough with your agent either today or tomorrow morning, and you want to visit the property one more time. Why? You want to make sure there's no damage to the property, no leaks. Also, let's say during home inspections and when you sign the contract, the HVAC worked. Today's a hot day, you turn on the AC and it's not working. Those things are helpful to tell your attorney before closing because things can be resolved. Telling your attorney after you close that things are not working is not helpful because you are the new owner. Now, if the air conditioning is not working before closing, we have to see what the problem is. If it's something simple like adding Freon or a small repair, that could be addressed with a licensed plumber. A credit can be achieved and we can still close. But what if it's something serious? It's just your luck, which I think is good luck, that the unit didn't work before you close. If it has to be replaced, the closing would be adjourned. Then the seller would replace the unit and resolve the issue, and we would reschedule the closing. When it's a big repair that cannot be addressed or needs more time for evaluation. This is the overall process. Now, I'd like to end with one point. I usually end the seminar with this last point to try to follow and hopefully you'll find this point beneficial. And many people thank me after this seminars years later. Whenever you buy property, the seller has to perform an inspection for the buyer. All townships have either 1 or 2 inspections. The first one is called smoke detector and carbon monoxide smoke certificate. That means a fire department comes, the smoke detectors work, they sign off on a certificate, which the seller has to give to the buyer prior to closing. The second inspection is called the certificate of occupancy inspection. The building department comes out to inspect the property. If it passes, they sign off. Provide this certificate to the seller, which the seller will give to the buyer before closing. If it fails, the building department will give a list of repairs. The seller performs the repairs. The township comes back to re-inspect to ensure those repairs were done. If it passes, they sign off. Every township has either 1 or 2 inspections. So it'll either be a smoke detector certification and a certificate of occupancy, or it could be one or the other. For example, if you're buying in Edison, New Jersey, it's 2 inspections, smoke detector and certificate of occupancy. You're buying in Englewood, New Jersey, Bergen County, it's just a CO inspection. If you're buying in North Brunswick, it's a certificate of occupancy. Everybody get the pattern? It's 1 or both. You can easily call the township's code enforcement. They'll tell you what's required. You can also Google up the information. Now, let's say you bought a property, doesn't matter which town, and you made an offer today. and you were very excited and you saw the finished basement. You can envision yourself in the finished basement and you are excited and you signed a contract. 50% of the population may wonder whether that basement is legal or legitimate. The other 50%, happy-go-lucky, may not even think about it. There's no judgment here. It doesn't matter which group you're in. Let's assume you're in the group A. You do not know whether a permit is required for a finished basement. You sign the contract and your attorney asks the other side, that's the sellers, please provide me with proof that the basement's legal. In your particular township, let's assume the only inspection is the smoke detector certification. That means the fire department comes out, smoke detectors work, it passes, you're done. That's the only certificate required. The sellers provide this certificate to your attorney. Your attorney reaches a fork in the road. If he's an experienced attorney, he will say that this is not enough. You need a permit for the finished basement. If the attorney somehow lets it go or accepts that certificate as proof, I don't blame anybody out there. You would accept it and rely on your attorney. Now, let's assume you accept the certificate for the smoke detector. Now you've closed, you move on with your life and you enjoyed the house for several years. Now a new buyer comes along, very excited with the finished basement that you even perfected more by putting a flat screen TV and other little features. This buyer, however, says, I'd like to see the proof that the basement's legal. The buyer is much more knowledgeable than you are, much more smarter, and millions of people always are. This buyer says, show me proof. You go to your old closing file and provide him with the smoke detector certification. The buyer says, this isn't it, I need a permit. You question and say, what do you mean permit? You call the township to find out if the basement had a permit. The township says there's no record on file. That means in simple English, the basement has not been completed pursuant to township requirement. And more importantly, the township is not aware of it. The buyer will now ask you to legitimize the basement. That means make it legal. You will argue you bought the basement this way, you didn't do any work, and you've got a smoke detector certificate at the time of closing. Your defense will be you didn't do anything and the basement was as is when you bought the property. However, this defense works in third grade. This will not work today. You will now call the township, get the proper paperwork and inspections. The township may require an electrical inspection, plumbing inspection, could be an architectural drawing required, and also legal fees. These fees all add up very quickly and can be expensive. And you'll be more aggravated in incurring these costs for a basement that you didn't create. How can you solve this problem? It's against my financial interest generally to give advice on this because we make a very good living, extremely good living, assisting many clients in all counties in New Jersey trying to solve these problems. The first thing you can do is complete what's called an Open Record Public Act request. That's Open Records Public Act request. It's a free form. You can fill it out at code enforcement in any township. And you can go many places on townships online and complete the form online. It's free. Anyone can complete it. You do not have to be the owner. And once you complete it by law in 10 days, they will provide you with whatever information the township has about your property. That doesn't mean there's anything that they have, but whatever they have, they're not being nice, but by law, they have to share it with you. Now you can become a detective. When you're buying a house and the seller says, I got a brand new roof, brand new water heater, brand new furnace, those things require permits and signed off by the township. If the seller doesn't provide these documents and you do the Open Records Public Act request and you don't see any copies of permits for these items, you learn something from me in today's seminar. At minimum, you would ask your attorney through your attorney to ask for the proper permits. If they don't have it, the seller has to get it for you. This is important because you want the seller to do this on your watch, not after the closing, because after the closing, all the responsibility falls on you. Now, I would do one more thing. I would call code enforcement in any township you buy the house. The old-fashioned way, you pick up a cell phone landline and you call code enforcement. and you ask him if there's any permits that are open. Doesn't matter what the answer is, you just listen. If there are any permits that are open, if they say anything is open, you want the seller to then address and close out those permits prior to closing. I hope this was helpful. I'm Satal J. Shah in Edison, New Jersey. We assist all clients in all 26 counties in New Jersey. Myself and my 2 associates, we travel to any closing near you, so don't let geography be a barrier. I know Cynthia's shared Attorney Shah's Guide to Buying Your First Home in English and Spanish. I'm proud to say we had more than 6.4 million web hits on that brochure alone. So it helps first-time buyers. So if you have any questions, please feel free to call and email us. Also, feel free to follow us on Instagram at Shah, S-H-A-H, legal, L-E-G-A-L _COM. That's Shah, S-H-A-H, L-E-G-A-L _COM. Please take a look at the Instagram page. I think there was a seminar that's on there for affordable housing, and there'll be other future updates. I thank everybody for listening, and I wish everybody lots of luck and good night.
Thank you so much, Satal. Such great information. I did put up, if everyone wants to look in the chat, the guide that was referring to. And I did also put for Chiquita, I have 10 commandments of buying a home, and then the real estate transaction. So that's all up there for you. Does anyone have any questions for Satal? I know there's a lot of information. Very good information. Any questions? Feel free to unmute. In the meantime, I can go back to some other questions we had.
Cynthia, I answered the other questions in the chat.
You did? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Does anyone else have any more questions? We're here to help you, so feel free to unmute.
Hello?
Yes.
Yes. Hi. I'd like to ask, in general, how much are the attorney fees on a closing? You know, I guess I'm just trying to ask what is the average amount that an attorney charges to close on a home?
You'll see a whole range. You'll see anywhere between $950, $1,000, all the way up to about $1,750 in that range. On average, you'll probably see about $1,350. Depends on the complexity too, right? If you're buying a short sale or what type of any problems that occur, but you'll see it within that range.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Okay. Any other questions? All right. Well, if we don't have any questions, any more questions?
Oh, I'm sorry. I have one thing I wanted to ask. At what point do you get an attorney to help you? Like, is it after you fill out the form and the lender is going through the program, and then you say, okay, time for me to get an attorney?
It's an excellent question. Most of the times you want to speak to the attorney probably right before you sign a contract, because as soon as you sign a contract, the 3-day attorney review starts, and your agent is going to immediately ask you who your attorney is, because they know once the contract is signed, it's a live contract and they got to get it to the attorneys. So with preference, you probably want to call them and establish a rapport, make sure you just speak to somebody, probably put you at ease. I would say right before you sign a contract is a good time, because as soon as you sign, that attorney should be ready to go, accept the contract and start reviewing it with you. So maybe a day or two before you're thinking about signing would be a good time to at least reach out. You want to make sure you have a rapport with the attorney, that your personalities mesh, and then it gives you a sense of comfort.
Great question.
Okay.
Anyone
Thanks.
else? Anyone else have questions? All right, well, I want to thank everyone for coming on. I want to thank Chiquita, Jesse, Satal. Thanks for speaking and giving us a ton of information tonight. Very helpful. I just want to reiterate to everyone that attended tonight that you will get an email tomorrow with all of the links that we shared in today's webinar, and along with the link to our YouTube channel where this recording will be. We do have one more webinar on Thursday, and if you or someone you know wants to join, go to our website and register, and we hope to see you there. But good luck, everyone, and have a great night. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
Thank you
Stay
all so
safe,
much.
everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a great night.
Thank you.
Good
All right.
night. Thank you.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so everybody leaving.